Hi everyone, Connor here with a new episode of Making Magic Happen, brought to you by RIW Hobbies and Games in Livonia, Michigan. And today I'm going to be playing a Pioneer Prelim with some Lotus Field. And we're trying out some new things in the deck today. The most exciting thing is Tuberal, Chief of Compliance. And what we've done to make room for that is, I'm not entirely sure, to be completely honest with you. Recently we've been playing a list from Caleb that had 4 Balaged recoveries, 3 Barals, and it had Luris in the sideboard. But I'm not really a big fan of Luris in this deck. I just think that it's kind of a little bit too fancy, and I don't like not having Vizier of Tumbling Sands in my deck. So I got rid of the Luris, I got rid of 2 of the Balaged recoveries, went down to just 2, and now we have our Viziers back, and we're also playing with some Barals. Now, the best thing that Baral does is sometimes we're a little bit short on mana, especially after we spend 7 of it to cast Peer into the Abyss, and so Baral helps us out. Because if we cast Peer and we have, say, 3 mana left over, we can play Baral and then play Hidden Strings, and then try to go off from there. So it makes things a lot easier after that. It's also pretty good in some of the aggro matchups, just makes our Goldfish a little bit faster and can serve as a blocker for some of their smaller creatures. Other than that, the deck is pretty much the same as it was in the past when I won the Showcase Challenge a couple weeks back. We've still got our standard Hidden Strings, Fae of Wishes, Strategic Planning, Pour Over the Page, Dig Through Time to churn through the deck, as they always have. Peer into the Abyss is still fantastic. Card is just the only thing, one of the only things that's keeping this deck relevant. This card just is kind of your new Underworld Breach. You get up to a lot of mana, you cast it, and then you're just good to go for the rest of the game. Now, in the sideboard, there's some things that we are trying out tonight. So these are the cards that, in my mind, are kind of must-haves. You need to have your Sweepers and your Angers and your Shatter the Sky just to deal with aggro decks. You need Wilt and you need Blinks just kind of as catch-all removal to deal with any Damping Spheres that people might have or other problematic permanents like Narset. To be honest, Wilt isn't necessarily a must-have recently just because the number of Damping Spheres in the format has been very low, so this is one that I might think about cutting in the future, but for right now it's there. Niv Mizzet and Ugin serve as alternate win cons, and Ugin's also a pretty good sweeper against decks that Anger or Shatter might not get the job done. Alpine Moon just kind of wins the mirror by shutting off other people's Lotuses. Jace is our win condition. Peer is something that we go get with Fae of Wishes if we run out of gas but have a lot of mana. Thought Distortions are good in the control matchups. There's a lot of Esper control and Wilderness Reclamation decks going around, as well as Niv Mizzet, and so we like Thought Distortion, and I like 2 because it lets us keep one in the sideboard for Fae, and also board one in, because against the decks where it's good, you do want to draw it as often as possible, so having it in your deck as well as in the board is pretty good. These cards I'm not entirely so sure about. These are just kind of things that are left over from Caleb's latest version of the deck that I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of. I don't think Void Snare is super necessary just because there aren't a ton of aggro decks right now, and the ones that are, Blink of an Eye is usually good enough against. Tormod's Crypt is really only good against Oops All spells. We Goldfish about as fast as they do, and that deck just isn't super popular right now. And then, to be honest, I've never really been sure what Temporal Trespass is for. So tonight we're really going to be thinking hard about the sideboard slots and seeing where we can improve. Because while I think that these 11 cards are kind of locked in, these are kind of the must-haves, these 4 we might have better options in place of. So with that, we're going to get to the prelim. Hope that you enjoy. Hey everybody, here we are for round 1 with Lotus Field, playing in a prelim tonight. Trying to get ready and test some things out for the Pioneer Super Qualifier happening tomorrow. Hand's pretty solid. Don't usually need the second Grazer. Balagid is not exactly what we're looking for at this point. Our opponent has Lurrus, so they're likely on some sort of aggressive deck. Looks like a burn deck. That's kind of scary. That is definitely not the matchup we like to see. I was hoping they were something like black-white auras. They're a little bit slower and easier to interact with. We're planning. Hope to find a stage here or a scrying to get one. Let's take Fae of Wishes. That's not stellar, but it's fine. Really hoping that they're not playing Eidolon right now. They probably are, but we can dream. I will block. Just going to play this and pass. We have 7 mana next turn, so we can just Fae for Anger. It's nice that Granted doesn't get tagged by Eidolon. What's up, opponent? What can we do? Opponent's a little bit in the tank here. It's possible they're thinking they want to Wild Slash our Arboreal Grazer, and this is one of the biggest reasons to block Eidolon here, is that if they have 2 spells, which they very likely do, then if we just block Soulscar Mage, then they wouldn't have to point a spell at our Grazer, whereas in this case they do, and we don't get Wild Slashed in the face. Now, they don't know in this case that Wild Slashing our Grazer doesn't matter because we're just going to anger it away, but, you know, what they don't know sometimes it saves us a point of life. So we're going to be at 15 here. Our opponent will have Ash Zealot and Wild Slash, so it's not going to feel good, but we're not out of it yet. If I had 1 more mana, like if we had drawn Vizier that turn, it would have been good to go for the Shatter the Sky, just so that we don't take the 2 off the Eidolon. But unfortunately we did not draw Vizier. Let's see what our opponent does here. Probably just going to go Ash Zealot, Wild Slash. Make sure that they're using all their cards. If they have another Eidolon, I could see them playing that over the Zealot, though. And this used to be really bad against us back when Underworld Breach was in our deck, but now it's just kind of a 2-2 with haste. Cool. Yeah, we're still at 13 on turn 4. Our opponent, or 11 now, I guess. Opponent doesn't have the fastest clock in the world. I think we're in a pretty good spot here. Let's see what planning finds us. Strings is always a good draw. Alright, so we have 5 mana. Strings is 9 mana, so we can't quite do anything game-winning with this Fae of Wishes yet, so I'm just going to take the Pore Over the Pages. Okay, that should... I won't say that that does it, but we should be able to win from here if the stick through time doesn't brick completely. Alright, so we can take Pier. So then we've got 4 mana, this is plus 5 is 9 mana. Yeah, we can just take Pier Strings and should be fine. Just draw 19 cards with this Pier, and then have a bunch of mana left over, so this should be good enough for a kill. Starting to think about how we want to sideboard. I'm thinking I want the bounce spells, and not a whole lot else. Just want Void Snare, Blink, Blink. Might bring in Wilt just because it answers Eidolon, but I don't know how... That might be a little bit too narrow. We'll think about it though. Alright, we'll go ahead and grant it for Jace. Alright, and our opponent concedes. Alright, so we're looking at these 3 cards. I think I'm willing to cut a Bala Ged Recovery. It's pretty slow. I think I'm going to leave all 4 Grazers in when I'm on the draw. On the play, I'll probably cut one. And then I think I cut a Baral as well. There's a chance that I don't want Peer into the Abyss. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it's alright. It's just so good at killing our opponent on the turn that we cast it, but I think that we should be able to get by with just one. Baral is also really good at just like blocking their creatures. We'll never say no to just like casting a Baral and blocking with it on turn 2, so I'll give this a try. I could also see going down to just 3 dig through times instead of 1 Pier. Not entirely sure about that. Really hoping that our opponent doesn't have a Wet Ball. Damping Sphere would be really good against us. This deck was our worst matchup back in the Inverter Breach days just because Eidolon and Ash Zealot both shut us out of our combo plan, and they just also played like Damping Spheres and Rest in Pieces in the sideboard. So it was a good time. Something that I really want to explore during this prelim is I just want to see if there's any matchup where Tormod's Crypt feels good. Because it's been in my sideboard for a little while, and I just haven't really thought about the sideboard recently because I haven't had any events that matter. But I just think that Tormod's Crypt is like not good in any matchup right now. I guess it's good against... No, that's not true. It's good against the Oops All Spells deck. That's been going around quite a bit, so I might keep it in for that. This hand is not a keep. Oh, man. I think that we keep this, but I'm not excited about it. The odds that we just play our Grazer on turn 1 are pretty high, just to buy us time. I don't like losing the putting a land into play, but I think that just blocking is really where we need to be here. This hand was kind of a gamble, to be honest. I'm not entirely sure if it was correct to keep or not. But I think that with Grazer to be a speed bump until we find land number 2, and this Vizier and Pour to go fast once we do, we're not in a bad spot. Probably dead now. Are they pointing a wild slash at me or at my Grazer? It looks like they're going at the Grazer. Makes sense. Alright. Willing to pack it in from here. Took a little bit of a gamble and it didn't pay off. It's possible that I was supposed to go to 5 there. I'm not entirely sure. Now that we are on the draw, I'm going to bring in a blink and cut one of the Grazers. It's taking a long time here. I wonder if things change on play versus draw for them. I think it's really interesting that Ash Zealot is still in this burn deck. I don't really know. Honestly, don't really know like what that deals with. I can't think of any decks right now other than Uro decks that are really casting cards out of the graveyard. This hand is fine. We are likely playing this Fae of Wishes on turn 2 to chump block. Or not chump block, but just get in the way. And then after that we can Sylvan Scrying for our Lotus. And then hopefully get things going. Don't love that our only green and blue source is a Pain Land, but is what it is. Okay, Baral's pretty nice. He might be good when we start going off. Really hoping for no Eidolon here. This hand does not have a great plan for that. We do have this Blast Zone, but I don't think it's likely that we'll get to use it for Eidolon here. Looks like they're just Wild Slashing our Fae, which is fine. And they're stuck on just one land. Excellent news for us. So we'll just go ahead and Scrying and find Lotus. And then hope that we can find something good to do next turn. Okay, another Swift Spear, that's good. That's not a land. It's not an Eidolon either. Oh man. Magic is easy. That was the best draw in our deck, and we can probably go off this turn. So we can go that. Strings. I think that we can play Baral here. Actually, yeah, let's get Baral into play. Right? Yes. Can take Strings Pour. I don't think I want to Cipher here, but I could be wrong about that. Alright, well, we're going to get to just Pier here, so I think that we should just be good to win. Well, it's possible that we can brick from here. Nothing's guaranteed. Opponent just concedes. So here we had 4 mana plus 1 from here. So we were going to be able to pour a few times. It was going to be pretty easy. Alright, we'll see you back for round number 2. Alright, hey everyone, back here for round number 2. Keep this hand put back. I think we put back Pour. Alright, our opponent is probably on some sort of Auras deck, knowing them. And knowing Luris. It's going to be something aggressive, and last couple times we've played against this person, they've been on Auras or something similar. Playing against Burn again? What is going on? Is Burn just like making a secret comeback that I didn't know about? Do not need a Hidden Strings at this point. Okay. That's not good. Is it better to take Planning or Pour? I think it's better to take Planning. We need to get lucky next turn. Like we need to find a Thespian stage. I don't even think that we're getting to survive here. This is a Boros Charm. Yeah, we're dead. Alright, turn 4 kill. Cool. We're going to draw Fae of Wishes, so we might have been able to anger. Let's think. +1 +2. No, we would have been one short of angering, so we were just pretty dead there. Let's see, on the play I boarded down a Grazer and down a Pier last round, and then on the draw we'll bring a Grazer back in. We're just bringing in bounce spells to slow them down and deal with Eidolon again. Wow. Maybe people, I haven't played Pioneer in a little while. Maybe Lurrus Burn is just like on the uptick and is really well positioned right now. In which case we probably shouldn't be playing very much Lotus. I hope that's not the case. Not a very good hand. Also not a very good hand. He started with 7 cards. We are going to 4 cards. I mean, this 4 is acceptable. I'm going to take a little bit of a gamble here and keep the Baral. Baral is probably pretty bad to keep, actually, given that they play a million lightning strikes. So maybe this was bad. Yeah, Wizard's Lightning is not what we wanted to see. So I don't love that play from me. I think that I should have kept the strategic planning instead. And if I get the chance, I am just going to block here. Like, Fae of Wishes soaking up 5 damage is acceptable. Alright, we are honestly not in the best spot here, but if we rip something like a Pour, a Dig Through Time, Fae of Wishes, we are not in the worst spot. Is this Rest in Peace? Yeah, I don't really mind Rest in Peace. Okay, not a Rest in Peace. Take 5, go to 14. Well, that is something. Probably supposed to hold that land, actually. Yep. Blocked like that so that I could draw Dig Through Time and have it be good. So it got paid off in a big way. We'll see if we can find something here. Strings plus Fae is our most likely grab. What does that do for us? Strings plus Fae lets us anger here. Is that good enough? I don't know. Like, then we're at 5 against his 4 cards in hand. Do we just have to try to win this turn? Problem is, if we take planning and just try to win, we only have 4 mana. I don't think it's planning. I think it just has to be Anger of the Gods here, as much as I don't like that. And because of our mana situation, it's actually going to be Shatter the Sky. Just on the off chance that we end up going and getting another sweeper at some point this game and having to kill an Eidolon. I don't think that that's very likely. We're probably just going to die here. But that could save us 2 points of life, which could make the difference. We are just dead, unfortunately, but I don't think that we had any better line to take there. So, kind of unfortunate, but we'll be back for round number 3. See you then. Alright, hey everyone. We are back here for round number 3 of this Pioneer Prelim. 1-1 so far. We've played against Lotus Burn a couple of times. Looks like we're not playing against Lotus this round, so happy to see that. Hopefully we can play against something a little bit more slow and ponderous and don't have to be on the back foot the entire time. This hand's pretty solid. We have a Lotus and we have a couple of Viziers, so I'm willing to keep it even without a Thespian Stage. Tapped Watery Grave is potentially a good start for us. This could be the Sultai Reclamation deck that's been going around a little bit, or it could just be Sultai mid-range. Either way, I'm pretty happy to see it. So this next turn, we got a couple of choices. Hopefully we're not getting Thought Seized. I can Dig Through Time this turn. So the question is, do I want to use my Viziers on something like that? And I believe that I do. I think that I just want to use this to start casting some spells here. So I'm not sure if we want this to be a Dig Through Time or a Granted. Probably just a Dig Through Time so that we can look for Thespian's Stage. There's a Stage. And then I think that we take second Vizier here. Alright, so we are off to a not bad start. Maybe I was a little bit too hasty here in going up on cards. Maybe that wasn't the best. Alright, so far we're in a pretty good spot. Opponent has no clock. The only thing that we're super worried about is this Jace, which they did just hit Thoughtseize, so they will be able to take one of our payoffs, but we do have a lot of them, so not, you know, that's not the worst thing in the world. Something that we do need to be on the lookout for is main deck Mystical Disputes that these decks have been playing lately. Usually, I think that they have one or two, so we'll play around that if we can. Not even sure what our opponent takes here. It's pretty good here. We just have like a lot of payoffs. think that our best draws from this point are just going to be hidden strings, just so that we can make a lot of mana and cast multiple payoffs in a turn. I think it makes sense for them to try to choke us on mana when all of our expensive stuff is pretty good. This also suggests to me that they might, well, never mind. I was going to say it suggests Mystical Dispute to me, but I don't know if it does anymore. If they had Dispute, they might have just played Island and held it up, but maybe not. They might want to wait, just because without that Vizier, we can't actually do any real damage this next turn. Oh. Yeah, I'm not worried about this one at all. Just like a 2-for-1, 3-2, that's fine. We're going to copy Lotus Field right now, just so that we don't get blown out by Assassin's Trophy. And we would really like to draw either a Hidden Strings or our 4th Vizier up next, just so that we don't get blown out by Mystical Dispute. There's Atris. Let's see. I think I want Uro to be in their hand. Alright, I think that the top pile is... Oh, the top pile is face up. The bottom pile is face down. I want them to take Uro and put it into their hand, so I'm going to make Uro the face down card. I would rather that they can't play it, or I would rather that they can't escape it all at once. They do put it into their hand, so I got paid off there. And we're just going to play our Pour out here and hope that we don't get disputed. Okay, cool. That is what we like to see. We don't really need the third Fae of Wishes. Alright. I don't think that I want to play this Baral out just because of Fatal Push concerns. I'd rather that it not get pushed, and then we just have wasted a mana. Okay, so we should just be able to win here, and our opponent decides to pack it in. I'm going to take a second to go ahead onto Goldfish and just see what these decks sideboards are looking like these days. No, not that deck. This looks like the Delirium build, not the Wilderness Reclamation build, because we saw Traverse the Uvenwald. This looks like they usually have Soul Guide Lanterns. Let's see what Jabberwocky's doing these days. I trust Jabberwocky's list. So it looks like what we're looking at is Thoughtseize is in the main deck, a couple of Mystical Disputes, nothing to really clock us, possible Emrakul coming out of the sideboard, and then more Mystical Disputes, Soul Guide Lantern. So nothing super concerning, if I'm being honest. Let's think here. What can we do here? Do you care about bouncing their things? Possibly. I think that we do want Niv Mizzet, and then I think that we want a Blink of an Eye. And then we can cut a couple of Grazers, but we don't need a whole lot else, to be honest. Maybe I'll bring in a second Blink if I see something to be concerned about post-board. Oh, this hand's not very good. This hand's also not very good. This hand slaps. Gonna keep our mana plus a Pier just because it's our most powerful payoff spell, and it's not super vulnerable to... What's that one card that they play called? It's not very vulnerable to Mystical Dispute if they're only holding up 1 mana for it. Alright, hitting an Uro there is not ideal for us, but I still think that we're in a fine spot for being on a mull to 5. Of course, our opponent could do any number of things to make that not true anymore, but the thing that I'm most concerned about in this matchup is their clock, and right now that's essentially non-existent, so... Like last game, Jace can be a little bit scary if they have Thoughtseize, but right now I don't think that they do have Thoughtseize. They might. I'm not sure if they would Thoughtseize us that turn or not. Alright, we're just going to play Lotus Field out here. Not really concerned about Damping Sphere or anything like that. No one's been... I shouldn't say no one. Lotus hasn't been super high on people's radars lately, and I haven't seen too many Damping Spheres in sideboards. Alright, so my opponent can't escape Uro this turn and flip their Jace. That part's not great, because Uro is a pretty significant clock. That's what I'm expecting to see here. I'm glad that they just keep not playing these cards that I know about. Do they have something that's not Uro here? Oh, yeah, they meant to make green mana there. So we know that 2 of their cards in hand are lands because they keep playing their lands that I don't know about, which is very nice. Very kind of our opponent. They just keep doing it. Alright. So this turn is just going to be stage copy, and then we'll go into our turn 5 with 7 mana. Second Pier. Alright, that doesn't do a whole lot for us. Starting to wish that I'd kept Hidden Strings a little bit, but I still think that I made the correct decision for being so low on cards. Well, we're getting at least, we're probably just going to get both of these Piers taken away, although our opponent might just go poor Pier. We're getting Thoughtseized at least one more time because this Jace can just minus, so this might be a difficult game to win. Looks like they're going poor. Poor makes me think that they might not Thoughtseize again. But I'm not really sure why they wouldn't Thoughtseize again. I don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to hold it unless you have something else good that you want to be flashing back with Jace. And the only thing that I can think of would be something like an Unmoored Ego. Although I suppose this is pretty good as well. I'm going to put these 2 cards face up and the Duress face down. Don't really want to get duressed. Alright, good. I don't really care about Soul Guide Lantern. Getting the graveyard disrupted isn't good, but we also don't super mind it. They haven't made their land drop this turn, so if they got duress, then they would just be able to go play land for turn. Uro puts in a land and then just take both of our Piers, and right now our Piers are just like our best way back into this game. We're going to 11 here, which means we kind of need to draw Hidden Strings this turn. Otherwise we don't really have anything going on. What's this? Where'd you get Forest? Okay. Yeah, because we're taking 10 next turn. Okay, they're not even bothering to thought seize me. Interesting. Alright, we're dead. That was kind of on the upper range of their draws, I think. So we're going to be back on the play. Didn't really see anything that game that we hadn't seen before. We just saw the hand attack, Jace, and the arrow. I think that I'm fine just putting this one back. Going in with the same lineup for game number 3. That's what I mean to say. We'll keep this one. Hand isn't the best thing in the world. We need to find another land by turn 3 or 4, but we can make that happen. What's our opponent at? Opponent did decide to keep their 7. Thought about it for a little while. Might have been marginal. We'll see. Would love to hit like a Sylvan Scrying or something like that next turn, or just any land in our deck. Come on, land. Thank God. Honestly, think that I just want to bounce this Jace here. Try to get them to replay it next turn so that we don't have to play around. So we don't have to do anything weird to play around Assassin's Trophy on our Thespian stage when we go to copy. Really good that we found that Yavimaya, so I was a little scared. Let's replay the Jace. Yep. Sure. Not a problem. What do I do here? I think that I just copy. Wow. So should I play Vizier here? Or should I copy here? I actually think that I can just play Vizier. Right? Is that better? I think that playing Vizier is better because the card that we're super worried about right now is Mystical Dispute, and so I think that maximizing our mana is going to be a good thing to do. I don't think that they have very many Abrupt Decays or Fatal Pushes post-board, if any at all. They might, I could be wrong about that, but I think that this Vizier is pretty safe. It's a little bit of a gamble. Jace discards Jace. Okay. Sure. Yeah, their usual removal, from what I just saw, is like Heartless Act and Fatal Push. And I don't think that either of those cards would be in post board, so I'm pretty sure that this thing is going to live. Do we want this? Probably not. Let's see, we're putting 2 cards into our graveyard next turn. Actually, this is like kind of free because of these dig through times in our hand. So I think that we want it. I'm going to copy on their upkeep or in response to this fetch. They usually don't have Assassin's Trophy these days, but it doesn't really cost us anything to play around it. At least not that I can think of. Alright, what's this? So they discarded Island to their Jace. Tireless Tracker's fine. We are very likely to kill our opponent next turn. Oh, wow. Okay. So what this tells me is I think that they're trying to spike a Fatal Push off the top there. Alright. So let's just pour. Always a good place to start. So our opponent kind of needs to respond to this if they're going to. So now we can dig. Strings was a good pickup as always. This dig, we're looking for more strings, we're looking for pores, and we're looking for peer into the abyss. I'm just thinking hard here. I'm not sure if they're... What are they thinking about here? Are they thinking about whether they want to dispute this? Guess we'll take poor planning, because might as well. Not going to cipher here. I don't really think that I'm going to want to use the strings to like get through their Tireless Tracker later this turn. Alright, I will pay. Alright. And off to the races. We will take 2 hidden strings. Let's think, what's our plan here? So we have 7 mana plus 8 mana is 15. We can do this for this, puts us to 4. And then what? But at that point we only have 1 strings left, which isn't great. I don't think I want to do that quite yet. Omniscience not being in the deck does make it harder. Sure. It's fine. There's a card. So let's do it like this. Yes, yes. No. What are the odds that we can kill our opponent this turn? So if we... I think that we should start going at them. Can we strings peer, or do we need to strings pour? So let's think here. We have 5 mana at the moment. We play Baral. I think that we need to strings pour, unfortunately, but I think that that's all right. Let's go ahead and save targets here. Oh, we can just go ahead and get Temporal Trespass. That's pretty sweet. We can, right? We have 7. Yeah. Yeah, with our land drop, this is good. Costs 10. Wow. This is fun. I'm having fun. Alright, so now we can just go ahead and pass, discard some lands. Alright, wonderful. 2-1, that was a pretty fun match. Didn't think that Temporal Trespass was going to bail us out like that. But we'll see you back here for round number 4. Alright, hey there everybody. We're back here for round number 4. Sitting at 2-1 right now, so off to an okay start, but still have a lot of work to do. I'm going to go ahead and mulligan that. And I'm willing to keep this hand. It has 2 strategic plannings, so the odds that we do find a Lotus are pretty good. Our opponent didn't reveal a companion. Glad to not see Luris. Sad to not see Orion. Oh, are we getting Thought Seized? Okay, it's just mono black aggro. That's not too bad. This matchup has usually been pretty good. Guess we just take Botanical Sanctum. Alright, that's good for us that they're Triple 1-drop's obviously a very scary start, but it's good for us that they are not. Yikes. It's good for us that they didn't Thoughtseize our strategic planning there. Okay, so we are not in a very good spot. It's possible that this hand was just very greedy, and I should have mulliganed it. For the attack, we're going to block one of the 2/1s instead of Knight of the Ebon Legion because we want them tapping mana here and not developing their board. We don't want them to play something like a Spawn of Mayhem. And if we just block Knight of the Ebon Legion, then they can just have us take 4, and the Knight still gets a 1/1 counter on it. So definitely not blocking. We're going to hope to spike a land and cast Pour over the pages. Obviously, if that land is Lotus Field, all the better. It's possible I should have taken Baral off that planning last turn, but I was honestly pretty scared of just getting Fatal pushed, and so that's why I opted to go for the land, as well as the fact that we can just put it in with Grazer. Opponent kind of deep in the tank here. Not really sure what they're thinking about at this point. Possible they just had to run and do something. This is a scary start from them. We haven't seen a Thoughtseize yet, but it doesn't mean it's not there. Hoping that we don't, because then they could just nab this Pour over the pages and we wouldn't have anything going on even once we do get our mana set up. What else are we worried about? Rankle wouldn't be great because then they could just make us discard cards. Even though we can block with our Arboreal Grazer, I'm not sure yet. But obviously they can't play Rankle yet this turn. Okay, so they're just going to attacks, which is really good for us. It means they can't even pump this Knight. So we're just going to save ourselves 2 points of life. And after combat spawn, yep. Okay, well, here we go. This is kind of a bad look. Let's get rid of hidden strings. Alright, so if we draw... How does this work? Is it if I have less life or if they have less life? If they have 10 or less life. So then if we draw Lotus here, we're not necessarily in a bad spot. I think that if we don't draw Lotus this next coming turn, we're just going to use Bala Ged Recovery to rebuy strategic planning. And then planning, hope to find one. So when they attack with everything, I'm not sure what my blocks are going to be at this point. Let's do some math. So then if I block like that, this grows, I take 4. No, hold on. Let's say I block the spawn and I block a 2/1. They pump, I take 6, I'm at 8. In my upkeep, I take... Or in their upkeep, I take 1. Oh, this isn't good. Okay. So if I take 5 here, I'm at 9, and then I'm at 8. I have to block a 2-1 here. Of course, I'm still dead. Not really sure what I can find here. Can I even planning this turn, or do I just have to rebuy Arboreal Grazer? I'm pretty sure I'm just dead. Yeah, I have to rebuy Strategic Planning here. Wow. What a game this is. Wish I had just... I don't know. I don't know if going to 5 would have been right there. I think that with 2 plannings and then the rest just kind of set up, it was a fine hand to keep. Sometimes you just don't get there. So in this matchup, I like a Niv. Not a whole lot else. Usually, let's just cut the Barals. I don't think Baral is very good. Just because they have to keep in some number of removal spells. We'll bring in 1 blink. If we get to blink a Spawn or blink a Knight of the Ebon Legion after they put some mana into it, that's a pretty good place to be. Is there any way that I could have played that game differently? I don't think so, other than just mulliganing the opener. The opener was land, land, strings, strings, poor planning, planning. Yeah. It's possible that I'm wrong, but I do think that that hand's keep. We're looking at for 8 cards that matter in Sylvan Scrying and Lotus Field, and we get 2 draw steps plus 6 looks at those in the first 3 turns. So we get 8 looks at 8 outs. Yeah, I think the hand is fine. I'm open to being wrong about that. If any of y'all have any thoughts about what I should have done with that hand, please shout it out in the comments. It's possible that I'm just being a little bit too aggressive there and I should just make the mulligan. I'm just taking a long time to figure out sideboarding here. I'm getting kind of tired. It's been a long week for me. Now this hand I like. Kind of has everything we're looking for. Pretty Thoughtseize proof. Pretty fast, pretty defensive with the Arboreal Grazer. We're probably going to take one of our Scryings and then we'll just have to find our Thespian stage some other way. But that's alright. It's possible that they'll just take Dig or Planning as one of our payoffs. Come on, opponent. What's going on? Oh, Jesus. I've got to be getting some more rest. So at this point, I could honestly see an argument for any of the 3 cards. I could see taking strategic planning and then hoping that we don't have enough fuel for the dig through time. I could see taking a Sylvan Scrying just because then we can't get Lotus plus stage in play, and I could see taking dig just because it's the most highly powered card in the hand. I think that Scrying is the most likely, but it looks like they do go for the dig. Honestly, I'm pretty happy to see that. Thespian Stage was a good draw. It means that we can just go stage copy next turn without having to use this Scrying. Scrying takes up a lot more time, means that we can't copy until 4. Means that we can't copy until 4 and can't start killing them until turn 5. So stage is a pretty good draw. Legion's End. What? Huh. Okay. So far, our opponent has done nothing to affect the board state, which is really good for us. What the hell is... Do they just have, like, Rankle? They've got to have Rankle, right? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and Sylvan Scrying for another stage. And then just play this stage and pass. And then if they Rankle, I'm going to blink of an eye it. And then if they just don't do a whole lot, then yeah, sure. I was going to copy, but here we just get to time walk, draw a card, and hopefully go off this turn. Oh yeah, easy money. Alright, so we're going to win this turn. We just have to hope to win game number 3 on the draw. And just 3, 4, 10, 14 mana. 14 minus 11 means that we can, So I'm going to go ahead and peer into the abyss. No, we don't want to move through phases. Let's not do that. I don't want to do that yet. I want to try to find a Baral here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a land and pour. I guess it doesn't really matter at this point, does it? Let's take Fae. Planning, no reason to show them the Niv Mizzet. Making strings. Oh, I boarded out Barals, that's right. I forgot that this was game 2 until I saw that Niv Mizzet. So, slight misstep on my part, but it's not going to cost us. Let's go ahead and grab Jace. And play Jace. Planning. Planning. And mill ourselves. And, alright, that's game 2. Let's see what we can do for game number 3. Any changes? I don't really think so. They're probably not going to have a hand like that again, where they just don't do anything to impact the board until turn 4. I think that having seen Legion's End, I'm pretty happy with leaving Baral in my sideboard, so I'm just going to shuffle this up again. Learned my lesson about these sorts of hands. Really hoping they don't Thoughtseize us on turn 1 and take away our ballot, get a recovery. Thank God. That is one downside of having these spell lands, is that they are able to be Thoughtseized. That's fine. That just takes our Pour, which doesn't... It's not good, but it doesn't matter a ton. I'm really just glad to see them not playing a Scrap Heap Scrounger there. We'll find another payoff, but what we really care about is their clock. Mutavault's kind of spooky, though. Don't love to see the Mutavaults on the other side. It's pretty good. I should probably have played it this turn. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. Alright, so I'm just taking 4 here. They might Thoughtseize my Grazer, but it doesn't look like it. Alright, gonna go ahead and grab Blast Zone and then just get Grazer into play. Alright, so at this point, we're not in the worst spot in the world, but we do need to find a payoff. We're in a pretty bad spot, if I'm being honest. Yeah. I don't really mind discarding this Yavimaya Coast. And I would rather keep my Grazer around to block Rankle next turn. Unless they're just going to do this, which this is also, like, pretty fine. This means they have to sacrifice their Blood-Soaked Champion. Makes their clock a little bit slower. Alright. So we've got, like, 2 draw steps here at something good. That's something good. This could be... I was just probably supposed to... Yeah, I think this was bad. I was just supposed to block Rankle last turn and not discard the card. That's kind of biting me in the ass now. Because now they get to make me discard 2 cards, which, when I'm this low, is pretty bad. Because I would have liked to take Poor Strings or Poor something else there. Maybe Poor Planning. It was pretty poor planning on my end. Get it? Okay. So they're probably gonna, yep, they're gonna fire up Mutavault, which means I am Dobbs next turn. Unless something very strange happens. So we're gonna need this Pour to be good. Maybe they make us draw a card, who knows? Yeah, that was a really poor block. I was just very clearly supposed to block Rankle. If I blocked Rankle, then I would have a Hidden Strings in my hand right now. I suppose that they would have a Blood-Soaked Champion in play, and I would be at 3, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. It's poor. Okay. So we've got 9 mana here, which means that we can just peer and win the game. We haven't used any of our hidden strings yet. Glad they only have 2 mana up here and not 3. Makes things a lot easier when I go for the Jace. Just trying to get more hidden strings here. Vizier's work as well. Just trying to generate all of the mana that we possibly can. We know that we have hidden strings not too far down. There we go. Oh, and they also have no cards in hand, so I don't really have anything to worry about. Just me being dumb. I guess we're planning. Get our last hidden strings. Do we have another hidden strings? Maybe not. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we do. Okay. So it will be in these last 3 cards. Grab Jace. Alright, and there we have it. Made kind of a poor blocking decision earlier on in this game, but we got pretty lucky to steal it, so we're 3-1 now. See you back here for round number 5. Alright, hey everyone, back here for round number 5. Playing against McWinsauce. And this hand is a pretty solid 6, so we're going to go ahead and keep it. Not really sure what McWinsauce usually plays in Pioneer. Let's see, McWinsauce is also 3-1, so we're just playing for the QPs here. Should be a fun match. Not sure, like I was saying that I don't know what McWinsauce usually plays. We like seeing no lures revealed at the start of the game. And then this hand is just kind of solid against everybody, assuming that we don't get Thought Seized on turn 1 or 2, which, you know, that wouldn't be great, but we can still move forward from that. Here we go, turn 1 Watery Grave. So we are going to hope that this turn 1 Watery Grave signals Sultai and not something spookier. We can leave Baral on top, I think. Something good to jam next turn, makes us a little bit faster. If it lives, then we're in a great spot. If it doesn't live, then oh well. Looks like McWinsauce is on some flavor of Sultai, although, and this is the reason I kept the Baral on top, Sylvan Caryatid implies that it could be the Oops All Spells deck. Now, hopefully, fingers crossed, it's just Niv Mizzet, but there's a chance that this is Oops All Spells, and we will need to try to go off next turn. Okay. Just Abrupt Decay. So yeah, this is looking more like Niv, which is a much better thing for us to see. We can just try to go off on turn 4 now. Now, of course, if McWinsauce does have Slaughter games here, we kind of just lose on the spot because they get to name our Fae of Wishes. Yeah, okay. So unfortunately we lose game number 1. Alright, so in this matchup, I like to bring in Niv Mizzet, I like to bring in Ugin, and I like to bring in Thought Distortion. I also like to bring in a couple Blink of an Eyes because they have a card called Lavinia, which says that we can't cast non-creature spells, or maybe it's just spells, with CMC higher than the number of lands we control. That card is very, very bad for us. So I'm going to board out, I think, 2 Barals and 3 Arboreal Grazers here. Just not super interested in... Yeah, we don't need to go super fast. We mostly just want to be redundant and fight through their interaction, especially when we're on the play. So we're going to have our cards hit pound for pound as hard as they can. This is usually a very good matchup, and usually in game 1 they need to be able to slaughter games us, or their interaction is just like a lot of creature removal and a lot of planeswalkers that just kind of sit on the battlefield. So that is the start that they need. If they didn't have that Caryatid into the Bring to Light, we were going to be in some trouble, or they were going to be in some trouble, because we would have been able to untap and pour over the pages and do some kind of messed up things. So we're going to hope that we don't get got like that in the next couple of games, and that we can take it down. This hand is fine. It's good enough. Not something that I'm like excited about, but it's got a Lotus, it's got plenty of mana. It's got Fae of Wishes to go and get something on turn 4, depending on what we're looking for on how the game is shaping up. Looks like Mr. Sauce is thinking long and hard about whether or not they want to keep their 7. Hope they don't. Hopefully they just mulligan a bunch. Down to 5. We take that. It's not a bad one. Alright, we probably do not have Fae of Wishes any longer, so our win condition is going to be Niv Mizzet or Ugin, which is a little bit more fragile, I'm not going to lie to y'all, but we'll be able to get there. Take pour over the pages. Okay, so they changed things up post-board, which makes a lot of sense. Just because they know that we do bring in the Niv Mizzet and the Ugin, so Slaughter Games isn't just lights out. Interesting that they go for the poor and not the hidden strings, but probably a pretty close call. Glad that they went for poor and not strings. Not a whole lot we can do if we do not have the hidden strings. So this game just got a lot harder, but we've still got some ways out of it. So I'm definitely casting a granted this turn. Just not really sure what I want to granted for at this point. It's honestly just a Jace, probably. Is it? It's Jace or Pier. I think it's Jace. Just because I have this dig through time in hand that's not very turned on yet. We don't have a whole lot of cards in our graveyard. So I think I just want to get this Jace down and fill up our graveyard a little bit. If they have to take time attacking it, like thankfully they didn't just play Niv Mizzet here. If they just played Niv Mizzet, then just our Jace would have been in kind of a bad spot, but I think that we're okay as is. Hopefully this isn't Lavinia, although they wouldn't be fetching if it were Lavinia. Hopefully it's just another Uro. Or a Teferi. I wouldn't mind a Teferi. Narset. Ugh. That's really bad. Alright. So game did just get a lot harder, unfortunately. Narset is one of the better cards against us. And Bring to Light is whatever they want it to be. I wouldn't be surprised if it were Niv Mizzet here, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see another Slaughter Games or something like that. Man, I was so excited about this Jace, and then they were just like, yeah, Narset says no. We do have this Blink of an Eye, so not, you know, we can still go off if we find a way. They should probably downtick Narset before choosing what to do here, right? Actually, no, not necessarily. Not if they know for sure what they're getting. Yeah, just a Niv makes sense. So coming back from that mull to 5 real well. Alright. That was really good for us. They just Bring to Light, put a 6/6 into play, get another Bring to Light. We don't mind that. They are not activating Narset this turn. That's kind of strange. Doing this for a couple reasons. It slows down their Uro, and at the end of the turn, I'm planning to bounce their Narset, and that, well, that makes things a lot harder. What's the plan now? The good news is they're still very low on total resources, and so we can leverage ours in a way to capitalize on that. Let's blink the Narset. Do we want to blink? Yeah, I think that we have to. Let's put the fear in them a little bit. So Dovin's Veto and whatever they hit off of Savai Triome. So So, okay, they do just let the Narset go, which was expected. So now, I'm going to play Jace. I expect Jace to get Dovin's vetoed, but it might not. You've got to be kidding. You've got to be kidding me. Notion Thief? My God. That's a good one, I guess. So they draw the card instead. Jesus. Alright, well, we can just try to go here. What could I grant it for that matters? Not much. Jeez, this is tough. So I think that I just take like planning blink here. That's not very good. I think it's what we got to do though. The fact that they still have Dovin's veto in hand is going to make this game kind of impossible to win, to be honest. We've got to find a way to, because, you know, we're dead next turn, and so, yeah. Our opponent's drawing a mull to 5 was just, like, kind of too good. Like, as much as I hate to say that, I don't know. It's possible I could have played this game differently. Looks like all the corn homies are hopping into Among Us right now. Sad I won't be able to join them. I've gotta get some homework done after this is done. Got something to do at midnight in 3 hours. Another one. Jesus. Yeah, guess it just wasn't my game. Okay, I mean, it's not likely to matter much, but that gives me another turn. I honestly think it's just kind of Ugin or bust here. If I draw Ugin, then it's possible, but again, they have this Dovin's veto, so not very probable. If I take 6, I just die. Doesn't really matter since it's getting discarded anyways. Figure if I do this, maybe they'll tap low for Niv Mizzet again instead of, you know, killing me. Yeah, if they go Thought Erasure me, and then Rakdos is no. If they go Niv Mizzet into Thought Erasure me, then it's possible. No, they still have veto up after that. I had to hope that they went. Oh wow, okay. Tap out for Niv, please. Let me draw Ugin? Okay. Well, I can still draw Ugin. My best choice here. I can, so I have 7 mana. I can't Trespass plus play Fae. Does Shadow the Sky even do anything? I don't think it does. What if I were to, no, because they still just have the Niv and the Notion Thief. I think I just have to try to spike Ugin off the top. As much as I hate it. Alright, good game. Alright, so not quite how we wanted this prelim to end up. We're at 3-2, but I got some pretty good ideas for what I want to change before tomorrow's PTQ, and I will give a rundown of those, I guess, in the intro video before that. But for now, thanks for watching. I really appreciate you hanging out. Look for the video of the Super Qualifier coming up. I'll be putting that on the YouTube channel, hopefully just a day or two after this one goes up. And then have a good one. Thanks, everybody.
I'm joined by Kyle Balgamase. Welcome, Kyle.
How are you?
Raja Suleiman with Orzhov.
Max McVitie.
Congratulations to Brian DeMars.
Zach Allen.
I wouldn't be here without these guys, though. So.
And the champion of Proto Counter-Attack, Ari Lax.